Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome in our Azure Router Server video. In this video, we will be going to understand what is Azure Router Server is and how and where we can use this service. Well, here is the agenda of this video. So we will be going to have a basic understanding of what is Azure Route Server is, what are the key benefit, how it works, what are the upside and downside boundaries we have, what are the server limits, and then at the end we will be going to have a little demo where I would be going to show you how exactly you can create this Azure Route Server in the Azure portal and how you can use it. Right? So let's quickly jump into the introductions. So Azure Route Server simplify the dynamic routing between your network virtual appliance and your Azure network virtual network. It's allow you to exchange the routing information directly through the BGP routing protocol between any NVS that supported the BGP routing protocol and the Azure Software Defined Network in Azure Virtual Network without the need to manually configure or maintain the route table. Azure Route Server is fully managed service and it's configured with high availabilities, right? So Azure Route Server is solving one of the problem, right? Eventually, when you are having your NVS deployed into the high availability or in active passive, your NVS is always going to get two different private IPs, right? And to manage the routing in between those two NVS, when your passive become active or active become passive, you manually need to update your UDRs, right? To solve that problem, what Microsoft did, Microsoft launched a new service which is called Azure Route Server. With this one, you don't need to basically update your UDRs and you don't need to update your routing configurations because you can configure the BGP pair or you can have the BGP routing enabled on your NVS through Azure Route Server, and then you can take the advantage of BGP where you don't need to publish your routes again and again. BGP will learn the routes automatically based on the configuration and the active path and then can route the traffic on it, right? So if you see in the diagram, we do have two things. We have a local network and then we have a spoke network. And in the hub, you can see the route server with BGP pair NVS has been deployed where you're not using the UDS, right? Where you're using the BGP pair and then accordingly the route server is updating the routes on the NVS whenever any changes happen on the traffic. So this is how your Azure Route Server work. Now what are the key benefits we are getting it, right? So the first is we no longer need to manually update the routing tables on NVA whenever the network address is updated. No longer need to update it the user defined routes manually whenever your NVA announce a new route or withdraw the old one. You can pair multiple instances of NVAs with Azure Route servers. You can configure the BGP attributes into your NVAs and depends on your design and lets Azure Route Server know which NVA instance is active or which one is passive. The interface between NVA and Azure Route Server is based on the common standard protocol. As long as your NVA is supported BGP, you can pair it with the Azure Route Server. You can deploy Azure Route Server in any of your new and existing virtual network. So this is the benefit which you are getting with Azure Route Server. How does it work? So in the diagram, you can see Azure Route Server work with the SD-WAN NVA and a security NVA in a virtual network. Once you have established the BGP pairing, Azure Route Server receive an on-premise route from SD-WAN appliance and the default route from the firewall, right? And the route are then automatically configured on the VM into the virtual network. As a result, all traffic destinate on the on-premise traffic will send it to the SD-WAN appliance, while all the internet traffic will be sent it to the firewall. In the opposite direction, Azure Route Server will send the traffic to the virtual network to the both NVAs and the SD-WAN appliance can propagate it further into the on-premise network. So now if you see your all the traffic between the virtual network, between the VMs or between to the internet or SD-WAN or between the on-premise or something managed by your route server. So if there is any traffic which need to be routed on on-premise, then Azure Route Server will propagate the traffic on the SD-WAN and then route the traffic to the on-premise, right? At the same time, if any traffic need to be routed on the internet, then the Azure Route Server will route the traffic and publish the traffic on the virtual network, and then those route tables, the traffic will be routed to the NVAs, and from the NVAs it routed to the internet. So this is how Azure Route Server work. What are the boundaries we have from the upside? So Azure Route Server is another component of Azure Virtual Network that you can add on demand if you require a BGP endpoint. If you're for a virtual network, it remove the common issues and inconsequences like manually updating the route table in the network virtual appliance into the virtual network. You no longer need UDR into the virtual network to manage the routing to network virtual appliance or the gateways. Your route server remove complexity and the need of load balancing in the front of network virtual appliance, which reduce also the management overhead. You can add Azure Route Server to any new or existing virtual network. If you have an empty subnet left to deploy the service in, there is no longer need to infuse the IP networks that are, from the example, connected by a VPN to a virtual appliance by an unsupported shadow virtual network, right? So to use these kind of advantage to the upside, you always need to make sure your NVS is supported with the BGP routing, and in most of the cases that is supported. What are the downside we have, right? As we know, Azure Route Server is just the another service in a virtual network, which means has its own management interface, user experience, and the integration. When you set up a hub virtual network comparable to the virtual WAN, you need to add a following additional components: virtual network with the virtual network pairing, Azure Firewall, network security group, Azure Route Servers, net gateways, virtual network gateway for VPN, virtual network gateway for express route, network virtual appliance. Every of these components come with its own configuration interface, which you need to understand, configure, and master. Changes you done on one or the other may not be reflecting between each of the others. So these are the all downside we have for the route servers, right? Now, what are the limits we have? So number of BGP pairs supported is 8, which means we can have up to 4 NVAs into the one route server. Number of routes each BGP pair can be advised to the Azure Route Server is 1000. Number of routes that Azure Route Server can advertise to the express route and a VPN gateway is maximum 200. Number of VMs in a virtual network, including the paired virtual network that our Azure Route Server can support, is up to 2000. So which means if you have more than 2000 VMs, you need to have a 2 Azure Route Server into the network. So this is how you can uh, basically plan your route server by keeping this limit into the mind. Now conclusion, right? Where and why and when to use the Azure Route Server, right? If a customer would ask me like when to use which service, I would answer them as a follow, right? If I start from a green field or I want to ease and simplify my network management, I will decide for Azure Virtual WAN. If my setup required a classic hub and spoke architecture, I have an unsupported configuration of virtual WAN and I want to use the network virtual appliance which does not support the active or ease of scale, I would use the route server. As a Azure networking become and is already rather complex, together with my customers, we enjoy that managed approach for the virtual WAN, right? In the most common, it keeps simplify even a larger global scale. Those are normally only manageable with third-party tool. Management through each and every service at it would be with the classic hub and spoke topology is adding a lot of overhead and open opportunity for the mistakes and the misconfiguration. So again, it's depend like where you want to use. So it's better if you really want to have a greenfield, simplify the network management, go with the Azure Virtual WAN. But if you really want to have a hub and classic topology or you want to achieve active kind of scenarios where your virtual appliance does not support that kind of things, use the Azure Route Server, right? So let's quickly jump into the demo. So in the demo, I would be going to show you how exactly you can create a route server on the Azure. So simply from the top, you need to search for route servers, and this is the service which you need to select. Once you click on this uh, option, you will be going to get a new console, right? And then you can click on create route server. When you're creating a route server, you need to make sure you should have a one dedicated subnet created for this route server, right? You just need to select the subscription, you need to select the resource group where you want to deploy, define the route server name, right? Define the location. I am going to deploy into the East US location because I already have one virtual network. Okay, it's not showing me any network. Or I can go ahead and create a new one also, but in my case is I already have one which is created. I don't know why it's not showing. It should be showing that network might be it's in a different run. No, it's not showing it. I can simply go ahead and create a new one also. So just click on new. Uh, and then add a new subnet with name of route server subnet, right? And just specify the range. One, sorry, 1.0/24. Click on OK. It will automatically provision a new subnet and then specify the name of the public address if you want to use. If you have a existing one, you can go ahead and use that as well. In my case, I only have I don't have any existing one, so I'm not using it. And then that's fine. You just need to simply click on review plus create, and you just need to click on create. So it's a very easy and straightforward steps to create the route server. And once that route server is created, it's automatically attached with your virtual network, which means it will be automatically going to publish the route as soon as any route is updated into the route server. So you just need to give it a little bit of time. You can come back, you can search, wait for your deployment to get completed. Once your deployment is completed, you would be able to see a new route server is created into the here. So as of now, it's not there because my deployment is still in progress and it's going to take a little time to finish the deployment. So, okay, no, you can see my route server is finally has been created, and here I can see if I really want to enable the branch to branch, what is the pairs look like. As of now, I don't have any pair, but if I really want to add my pairs, I can simply do that as well, right? Only these are the configuration as of now I can see. So this is the ASN number for this route server for BGP pair, right? So this is how I can do that, and then after that, once this is created, I just need to add the my pairs for NVS, and then I can publish my routes directly on the NVS, and it will be automatically advisor routed on the route server as well, and to the other virtual networks or to the other subnets which has been created in this virtual network where this route server has been deployed, and the other pair network as well. Well, that's it in this demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.